And so, welcome. So maybe you might be comfortable where you are, or you might want to change your pose a little bit, find a position that works for you, that is comfortable for you. And so we're going to do our formal practice now. So sitting here or lying here, eyes open or eyes closed. And just starting out by maybe taking in a deep breath, filling up that belly. And then on a long exhale, just letting all that air out right into the world. So let's do that one more time. Taking in a deep breath, filling up that belly, and just letting all the air out. And there is absolutely nowhere to go right now. You have chosen this moment for yourself to be here. So there's nothing to do at this moment than just being here, engaging yourself in the moment, bringing your attention back again and again. But every time you notice the mind wandering, the stories, just bring up a big smile in your face and just notice that, wow, that was a mindful moment. I noticed. And then it's such a rewarding part to know that we're not in the mind, but we're completely embodied in the moment. So just allowing yourself to settle here into this body. Maybe just noticing how the feet are on the ground. Noticing how the body is in contact with the surface holding you. And perhaps you can become aware of the body settling here, whether it's settling or whether it's not really 100% letting the surface holding it. And so seeing if there is any tension or tightness here in the body that is preventing the body from just settling into this pose, letting the surface hold it completely. So really safely just allowing the body to kind of sink into the surface in this way. There might be some thoughts in the mind still. There might be thinking, there might be judgment about the moment, the day, the weather, the way you're sitting. That's okay. Just acknowledging all that. It's a natural process of the mind. And then just bringing your attention to sensing through the body, sensing the warmth, the coolness, the temperature in the body. Sensing the weight of the body as it's supported here in the surface. So maybe the lightness or the heaviness of the body. And just allowing it to safely sink in again. Fully supported, fully embraced and cradled by the earth. And now becoming aware of this body breathing, how it just breathes on its own. Noticing the in breath, noticing the out breath. And there is absolutely nothing that you have to do. The body breathes all on its own without any help. Just becoming aware of this body breathing, just noticing. And perhaps committing to the intention to being here, to being fully present right now in this moment with this body breathing. Feeling the rising of the body on the in breath and the falling on the out breath. Feeling the belly expanding and contracting as the body breathes. If you find yourself being really distracted, the mind wandering, telling stories again, just kindly and smilingly bringing your attention to the sensations of the breath in the body. Maybe the coolness as the air comes into the nose and leaves the body and goes out into the world. How it leaves a bit warmer than how it enters the body. without changing the breath in any way, just noticing the length of the breath, feeling the length, whether it's long or maybe short. So just paying attention to that as you feel the breath coming into the body, just noticing it. And there's not much you have to do, just allowing the attention to kind of settle here in the breath gently, kindly. Where does the mind go during the pause? Just noticing where the mind goes, noticing the thoughts, the stories, and just bringing your attention right back to the body, the breath. And if you're noticing that there might be some sounds around where you are, sounds in the room you're in or on the street, then just turning your attention towards those sounds and just noticing them. And instead of really getting caught up on what the sound is about, noticing the pitch, the rhythm, the volume, just being fully engaged with sound in this way. And if there's no sound, the absence of sound, if you notice silence where you're in, maybe you have noise canceling headsets, maybe tuning into the sound, just noticing it, allowing your attention to just settle here just for a moment. And we're practicing listening with the entire body, listening with your entire being. The stories are not important, the narration is not important. Just listening, deep listening to what might be here, to the sound or the absence of sound, turning towards. Now, as you turn towards this moment, just noticing what is it about this moment that brings you comfort. Perhaps you're sitting in a comfortable seat. Perhaps there's a coolness where you're in, a warmth. Whatever it is that you find comfortable right now, it doesn't have to be anything too big. But just bring in a sense of appreciation. Without you looking for anything in particular, but just allowing whatever it is to come to mind. Really sensing through the body. So, what are some things that you're appreciating right now? And within these things, can you find beauty in the moment? Whatever that means to you. You might notice the mind going into the past or the future, even if I say that. So just coming back to this exact moment right now, right here, within this body, breathing, sitting, lying, sensing, tasting, smelling. It's Mary Oliver in her poem Mysteries, yes, says, truly we live with mysteries too marvelous to be understood. How grass can be nourishing in the mouths of the lambs. How rivers and stones are forever in allegiance with gravity, while we ourselves are always dreaming of rising. How two hands touch and the bonds will never be broken. How people come from delight or the scars of damage to the comfort of a poem. Let me keep my distance always from those who think they have all the answers. Let me keep company always with those who say, look, and laugh in astonishment and bow their heads. So today's session is deeply inspired by a person I met last week. So if I can tell you a little bit about this encounter, which really inspired me to appreciate things a little more. So last week I was approached by, we call it here in America, homeless. Makes no sense to me, really, homeless, more like houseless, I think. So a person that just is in the streets and maybe doesn't have anywhere to go, doesn't have a home. So I was waiting to get into a shop, and in LA, we're still kind of lining up at certain places for now. We're going to be opening up soon, and we'll be able to go into shops, I guess, regularly, whatever that means. But for now, we're still waiting to get in some places. I was waiting in line. I was standing there, and this man approached me, and I could tell by his appearance, again, that maybe he had been living on the streets for quite some times. So as I stood there, um, we started talking, and it was such a valuable conversation for me. So he shared many things about his life, and he shared how his previous life, before he became homeless, and his work, and things about his life now, and how he lived a life of abundance and love. And he seemed to live in an awe with everything, and that was really inspiring to me. On the outside, he was a person that didn't have a home or a house or a place to live, a homeless person, as we say, and not allowed in most places. He stated that due to his appearance, and he even said his odor, he's not allowed to go into places and buy food, and he's not allowed to, be taken care of just like anyone else. Um, but deep in his heart, and through his stories, he conveyed that he was loved, that he was appreciated, and he was wanted. There was a yearning there in him for these things, and I don't think it's just him. I think it's, again, all of us want these things. Um, but he had been living in this world in which people really wanted him and people really loved him. And by wanted him, I mean they actually wanted to be around him. They wanted to spend time with him. And he told me about a large range of people that he knew, from celebrities to everyday people, that they all gathered around him to see him, to see how he was doing. They constantly wondered how he was doing. And they visited him and had wonderful meals with him, and spent time with him. And it's very interesting that as he saw life that way, and he approached me, I was pretty much doing that as well. Here we are engaged in conversation. He's telling me his stories, and again, I want to know more about him, and I that moment I care for him. And it's so interesting how I think he carried this way of being, and that really just tuned in deep into his heart, into an open heart. It was really open, and I could sense that just talking to him. But what really stayed with me and what inspired this session was his incredible capacity to really see the world, away from fantasy, from whatever fantasy he lived in. He could also see the magic in life's smallest things. And so he mentioned, for instance, how he would go into the park and he lay in the grass, feeling the warmth of the sun brushing against his skin. And he said it as if it was such a treasure, right? He's like, yeah, I went to the park and I just lied there. And have you ever, he would ask me, have you ever felt like how the sun just, settles in your skin, and how you can feel the grass, in a hot day, how the coolness. And I thought it was pretty interesting how much, how aware he was of all these things. And then he mentioned the soft breeze as he moves the trees from side to side. And it's like, as you lie there, you can hear the leaves that brush against each other. And he said it as if this was the most astonishing sound that he ever heard in his life. And he also mentioned the cold of a winter night when he was in New York. I guess he had gone to New York at some point, or maybe he came from there. He wasn't clear about that. But he said, I was in New York and it was one of the coldest nights ever. And I was shivering outside. And there was this stranger, he said, that came towards me and let me in and gave me a plate of food, where I'm thinking it might have been, at a restaurant, or somebody brought food to him, of warm food to him. But here is what he said, that he said, he described this person and he said, this person had the most beautiful eyes I had ever seen in my life. And the people that are kind to him on a regular basis, how beautiful they are, and how he met all these people who were gorgeous. And the people that he encounters are just, he lives in this wonderful world in some way. And some of it, he's very much in tune with his surroundings, really seeing, right? And so that's the invitation with our practice. And as I was saying, the formal and the informal, right? The more we practice formally, the more in tune we are. The more in tune we are with our surroundings, the more we appreciate these things, because everything just becomes old after a moment. It's the same park every day, it's the same house every day, it's the same people every day. And so really tuning in with this brand new, treasure-like mind, was really interesting. And so as I heard him speak, and I wonder how he managed to look at life in such a gorgeous life with so little, right? And so then, he started eating his food, and I was still sitting, I was still sitting there mesmerized by him, and then he was just talking and stuff, and so the night after talking to him, I felt really inspired towards turning towards this magic that shows up for me. And there was this magic that he could see and feel, and he surrounded him. And nature was magic, and people were magic, and people were kind, and his heart was so open. And so the inspiration for this was to really tune into this magic, and seeing how the heart shifts in some way, right? When we're open in this way, when we actually see what's in front of us, when we actually appreciate maybe the plant that is setting in the table across from me right now, for instance, right? And I can see that and really appreciate it. And see, not going into the story of how beautiful it is, but really sensing it, allowing the heart to see it, allowing the heart to open in this way. And so I was wondering what might be some ways that you find magic in your life. Might be some ways that these things might come to be for you. And in some way, this is a childlike way of seeing the world. I babysat a lot when I moved to America. That was my job while I went to college. I babysat a lot of children. I think a lot of my my teaching and the way I talk and the way I express myself is from really working with really young kids, and they see this magic, and so maybe a little more childlike in this way, opening up to seeing what's here. So um yeah, I thank you for listening, and I thank you for this time together, and for formally practicing in this way, and for being open to whatever it is that these sessions offer for you, and whatever, again, take what you need, leave what you don't. Um, these are just offerings, and you can always sit here in silence as well. So thank you so much.